Holmes, for heaven's sake, whatever's going on?
Oh, hello, Watson. You're early. Did you kill all of your patients?
What? Holmes, where have all these wretched bees come from?
I increased the temperature of the room so as to prevent them from hibernating. I needed to take a sample of honey. But it worked, Watson. We will have honey all year round.
Ridiculous and dangerous.
They're domestic bees, Apis mellifera, such industrious workers. Anyway, Watson, I am sorry, but I must leave you. I'm in rather a hurry.
You have a new case?
Yes, but nothing as thrilling as this experiment, a theft of plants at the Royal Botanic Gardens in Kew. I'm helping a minister who's an old friend of mine. You can join me if you like.
Well, I'll admit that I'd far rather accompany you than remain alone here with these workers of yours. Besides, you'll need a helping hand with the flowers you're intending to bring back.
Watson, however did you guess?
For the great Sherlock Holmes to bother with the theft of plants. Come on, admit that you're planning to spoil your little bees with some rare pollens.
Since when did I become so transparent? Let us go.
I really got something new I'm going to say. Before we move on to the new mission, I would like to go through the other 4 tasks I don't really venture towards to read, like, past missions, past other documents. This just gives us the list of all the cases that we took. Peter Carey, Riddle on the Rails, Bloodbath, the Abbey Grange Affair. Peter Carey was murdered by Pat Cairns, a professional harpooner, the only one capable of executing such an accurate throw. His tobacco pouch was found inside Carey's cabin, but the murder was in self-defense. Self-defense against an armed and fury-driven sailor. You have decided to resolve Peter Cairns. Riddle on the Rails. It was carefully planned murder. The Mexicans killed killings and sank the train to hide their crime. The Danbreeze displayed to their advantage. They used their own barges, to keep the train on the run for a few seconds and then sank it in the flooded quarry. The railway tracks were removed to hide their crime. A criminal organization such as this cannot be confronted directly. It requires a delicate approach. The decision was made to give Mycroft a chance to resolve the conflict. Bloodbath. The golden knife of Mithras was the result of his life's work, and the credit for it was about to be stolen by Bincliff to Rotten. Rotten's powerful connections and dominant will would have destroyed Blinkhorn if he had tried to resist. He used a handmade ice maker to create an ice-made reproduction of the golden knife of Mithras, carry it to the steam room in an ice bucket with champagne, and then, after the murder, drop the weapon onto the floor, allowing it to dissolve into water. If Blinkhorn had been given the opportunity to claim true ownership of his discovery, he would not have killed Bincliff. The Abbey Grange Affair. Sir Eustace was murdered by Captain Jack Crocker, who was visiting Lady Brackenstall that night. They staged it as a robbery by their random fame. Crocker used his steam knife to cut the bell rope past the lady and then hid the silverware in the well. Jack Crocker defended a woman against a violent and I can never pronounce that name properly. Maniacal man. You have decided to keep it a secret. Here is this. We'll look up into this one. We'll look all the way up. Harpoon that was used to kill Black Peter. Train whistle. A silver cast of the Mithras ritual knife. Oh, I'm surprised they didn't keep them both cast. Silver fork with Abbey Grange coat of arms. I didn't read the other 3 stories. Oh no! I wonder if I could read the other story. I completely forgot about reading the two stories. And they don't, I don't think so, do they? Yes. No. Dang it. Dear Mr. Holmes, I have finally found the courage to write you a letter. I could scarcely find the words to express my gratitude for your kindness. On that terrible day, I believed my life to be ruined, but at the same time, I realized there to be one person in the world who truly loved me and who I love in return. His name we both know. He is Captain Jack Crocker. His love has given me true reason to live. Even if we cannot be together in the end, none of this could have happened without you, Mr. Holmes. Yours sincerely, Mary Brackenshaw. Ooh, does it matter? Sweet, awesome. Okay. Ooh, I was actually kind of worried about this. Also, with the knife being in between in the letters, wouldn't that cause a hole or a rip in the letters as well? Anyways, this is chapter three's letter. Blinkhorn's regret. Mr. Holmes, today is the very first time that I've been allowed to write a single letter, and you are the first person whom I would wish to address. I repent all that I have done, but at the same time, I find myself grateful for your uncovering the truth. It has given me an enormous life lesson. I also thank you for my conditional sentence, for soon I may be able to live a fulfilling life once again and not be condemned by society. Yours sincerely, Percival Blinkhorn.
This is where I keep my post.
Okay, and lastly, here's the people. Okay. Lady Brackenstall, not quite 25, is from a wealthy Australian family. She has been married for a little more than a year. She has, in all probability, suffered physical violence over the course of the last fortnight. The lady lives a solitary lifestyle, seldom venturing outside. Teresa, is very attached to her mistress, and has known for her and has known her for a considerable time. She is the only resident servant at the Abbey Grange, cooking for, serving, and nursing Lady Brackenstraw. She would not hesitate to protect her in an event of any trouble. Crocker is a fine man of the sea, aged in his 40s. He is a capable, honest man and well educated despite not being very wealthy. He was in haste and still he read the morning. Okay, let me reread that because I totally messed this entire thing up. Crocker is a fine man of the sea, aged in his 40s. He is a capable, honest man and well educated despite not being very wealthy. He was in haste and still he read the morning newspaper and cleaned his boots before heading out. Interesting. Uh, just in case, I'm pretty sure I read these portraits, but just in case I didn't go through them. Judith Carey. Judith is from the country, somewhere near the ancient pine woods of Inverness and Strathspey in Scotland, where the crested-tip bird can be found. She is religious and undertook a St. James Way pilgrimage to the Cathedral of Santiago de Compostela when she was a young woman. Peter Carey was born in 1845 and was 50 years of age. He was a daring and successful seal and whale hunter. He commanded the whaler Sea Unicorn of Dundee for many successful expeditions. In 1884, he retired and traveled for some years. For the remaining 6 years of his life, he lived at Woodman's Lee. Milliken is approximately 19 years old. He was raised in Wales, but after the desertion of his father 10 years ago, he and his family fell into poverty. He worked to earn money by cleaning fish. Despite undertaking such manual work for a considerable time, Milliken remains physically weak. Hurtley is a stranger who was arrested by the police as a suspicious individual seen prowling around at night near Woodman Lee. He is a former soldier who left the military with an honorable discharge after having been wounded in the neck by shrapnel. Now he lives a quiet life. Yeah, he has like this big long gash on his neck. It's gnarly. Working as a gardener. Patrick Cairns is an experienced harpooner currently facing unemployment and poverty. He can be found most often in the Sea Witch, a public house deemed popular by the sailors whom he armed wrestles for money. Like many of his kind, he's a heavy smoker, indicated by his yellow fingernails. This man is in his 60s, and he has been married for a long time. The first spots of earth upon his sleeves reveal a passion for gardening. His badge of honorable station master reveals that he is a long-standing employee. All of this demonstrates his desire to live a quiet and stable life. We all wish to live a quiet and stable life. By this passenger's hand and clothes, he appears to be a specialized worker. He has no baggage and is alone. He is not traveling during vacation with his wife. He takes the train on a daily basis to get to work and back. In this event, he should be accustomed with the railway and be familiar with the stations and his regular fellow passengers. Robinson is a wealthy man who holds a high position in society, clearly indicated by his expensive clothes and golden ring. His Australian hat and crocodile shoes may allow us to deduce that he's a foreigner who traveled to England. Most likely, he is here due to a business trip. Like, is he... I don't know. Whatever. The station master of Bridlington is fairly young. He tries to keep his uniform clean and he's attentive to his duty. Fresh ink stains upon the fingers of his right hand indicates that this young man has been writing a great deal. It seems that he has almost completed his education and this is his first serious position. The Chesterfield station master is addicted to alcohol. The hue of his face and his nose in particular can confirm this without any doubt. His wife takes good care of him in spite of this. He is lazy, distracted, and obviously not in a position to perform his duties well. The station master of Doncaster is in a depressed state. He may be recently divorced owing to the mark left by the ring on his ring finger. I don't know why I'm having trouble reading. His clothes are untidy. It appears that he finds his single life quite difficult. His master's watch is missing. It could be lost or stolen or even pawned if he is in desperate need of money. Judging by the expensive brand of this man's cigar and the clothes that he wears, we may conclude that he is financially wealthy. A strong smell of tobacco surrounds him and his breathing is harsh, indicating that he has been smoking heavily for the past few days. The back of his hands are red and calloused, the sign of a man who is well practiced in the martial arts. And yet, he didn't do any of that. He just pulled out a gun and was about to shoot somebody, rather than, trying to get in a fighting position. Phillips is from Manchester. He takes care of both himself and the establishment where he works, and he is seen as a good employee. He went out this morning to send a telegram, probably to his hometown. Tristan Garrow is in his early 30s. He suffers from severe myopia. He seems very disturbed, which is possibly due to the shock of the murder, but not from that alone, as he is unshaven and clad in old, dirty clothes. Gregory Piggin is the model of an upper-class citizen. He is rich in a well-respected position, and he considers this his birthright. Whatever he may have done, he certainly does not believe that he should be imprisoned for it. Percival Blinkhorn is a true archaeologist who lives and breathes his work. He has remained in his profession for 15 or 20 years and still seems to enjoy it. Okay. Current mission: 4 new people. Ooh, my ear. Okay, that took up like a whole bunch of time. New outfit. Okay, so.
Oh dear, Toby. I wasn't aware that you were Watson's new literary agent.
Well, Holmes, here we are at the Royal Botanic Gardens. There's no doubt that this place is beautiful. But are you really intent on investigating the theft of the plants?
Yes, of course.
Don't touch anything else, is that clear? Just go and get a bucket of fertilizer, and without turning it over this time. Good day to you, gentlemen. How may I help you? If you are here for a visit, please do come back on Sunday.
I am afraid that it cannot wait. My name is Sherlock Holmes, and this is my friend and colleague, Dr. Watson. We are investigating the theft of plants that took place here 5 days ago. A remarkable collection, I believe.
So you're the one in charge, eh?
A small favour for a friend. Now, to whom do I have the pleasure of speaking?
I am Martin Hamish. I am the Deputy Director of Kew Gardens. And that fellow yonder is Albert. He works here.
I am delighted to meet you. What can you tell us about the plants?
They were rare and exceptional plants. We presented them at our last exhibition. We haven't removed the stand yet. It is still in the large glass house. We only learned of their disappearance the evening after the exhibition, and nobody saw anything.
No doors were forced?
No, but I would imagine that for a thief it would be fairly easy to gain entry, for there are no guards here.
Well, if you don't mind, we will take a look. Now, you say that it is in the large glass house.
Yes, the one just behind me. Just a second, since Albert has nothing else to do. Albert, show these gentlemen where the exhibition was held.
How many people work here?
Only myself, but occasionally 2 students, Albert, whom you have met, and Miss White.
Here it is. This is the place where the stolen plants were exhibited.
Thank you. Is there something the matter?
Yes, there is. All right, the plants were valuable and rare, but it seems to me that the tragedy that took place here only 2 days ago has been entirely forgotten already.
What tragedy are you referring to?
The director of Kew Gardens, Mr. Montague Dunn, he died here just 2 days ago.
We're very sorry. We were not aware. The two of you were good friends?
He was my father.
Oh dear. Our condolences. We should not be troubling you. Please do excuse us for the intrusion.
You say that he died here, in the large glass house.
Holmes?
Yes, just here, near the door to the colonial collection. He suffered a heart attack. Just like that. So suddenly. It was terrible. Excuse me, gentlemen, but I cannot remain here. If you need me, I'll be in the reserve. That's the room next to the front of the large greenhouse.
Of course, we understand.
What should we do next, Holmes?
According to Albert, this is where his father, Montague Dunn, was found dead. The traces are thinner in some places. These boot marks are fresh. It appears as though someone was dragging their feet. The footprints reveal that someone staggered here. Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here. Soil. It should have come from a flower pot. The soil on the side of this flower shelf is the same as that on the ground. This pot was broken fairly recently. A flower pot recently fell down from these shelves and was misplaced. The door was smashed at shoulder height. This door handle is new. It was recently changed.
To the glory of the colonial empire, rare and exotic plants in our distant colonies.
The esconsson was breached near the handle. The door was forced from the inside of the colonial collection room. The handle was changed afterwards.
I think we need to inspect the colonial collection room.
According to this, they have light and moisture control in some parts of the building. The smell is strong. It is a detergent. This broken fragment was the result of a heavy blow. A fragment of marble, most likely chipped from a statue or sculpture. This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system. This sign is broken. Something heavy was dropped upon it. Blood. Someone fell violently against this sign, and they were injured in the clash. Most likely a head wound. All the clues around here are quite suspicious. I need my imagination to make sense of it all.
Dang.
This reconstruction reveals a disturbing fact. Montague Dunn damaged the door of the Colonial Collection Room.
He was in a panic, or the door was locked. Was it an accident, or a murder then, I wonder? I think we need to inspect the Colonial Collection Room.
I just did. There's nothing else. Oh.
These windows were perfectly cleaned. Part of this greenhouse was emptied and thoroughly cleaned.
Perform an autopsy on Montague Dunn. The death is suspicious. Why had he forced the door of the Colonial Collection Room? Why has someone cleaned and emptied the room? Was it a trap or a simple accident?
Can I help you, gentlemen?
Do you work here?
Yes, but part-time only, for I'm also studying botany at the University of London.
You're following in your father's footsteps, then. That is commendable.
Well, even if botany is not my strongest suit, there are people who say that I could be a good manager.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon. These flower pots are beautiful. They are intended to be used for exhibition purposes. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens.
I like this place. The Kew Gardens in general. Also, cactus is cool. Cacti.
Dry tropics. There is a smell of burning. The remains of a picture frame. A protective mask. Someone set it alight, but it did not burn. The plants were set alight fairly recently. Some have not completely burned. A door handle? Why would anyone throw such a thing in the fire? The door handle to the Colonial Collection and that of the fireplace are made of the same material. A broom handle was half burned. The symbol is not from Kew Gardens. Colonial Collection. Palm House. Water Lily Greenhouse. Dry Tropics. Ventilation System. Seed House. Nursery. Director's Office, Cloakroom and Laboratory. Reserve. A map of Kew Gardens. A ventilation system. It should regulate the temperature of the staff buildings. A water tank. I asked Inspector Lestrade to take Montague Dunn's body to Scotland Yard.
It's ready for autopsy then.
Like, we get to explore just a bit more of the places, like different places besides the Kew Gardens. All of it's just amazing.
A membership card for the London Crest Club. A beautiful feather pen of a good make. This watch is of great value.
Wings and Sons Printing Company. My friend, your posters for the Great Exhibition at Kew Gardens are very beautiful, but it is surely unnecessary to mention all of the staff. My name alone will be sufficient. Montague Dunn.
First of all, let us carry out an external examination. There is an injury to the skull, most probably caused by the fall in the Water Lily greenhouse. The vessels and the pupil of the eye appear quite normal. The air from the lungs carries a faint floral aroma. No redness, stings, or bruises. Nothing suspicious here. There are no suspicious marks upon the chest. Let us finish our external examination so that we can proceed with the autopsy. Now, let us examine the internal organs.
Okay, you can't stand it. I mean, it's not like there's blood or anything. It's really not super gross. It's just It's like a cartoon. But this dude kind of makes you like, ugh, no, yeah.
The lungs are congested and edematous.
And Mawaha?
The tissue on the inferior lobe of the right lung is damaged, most probably caused by toxins from an unknown plant. The heart's blood vessels show no pathological signs. The heart tissue shows no visible pathological signs. The liver is enlarged. It would seem that he was suffering from an alcohol addiction. The liver tissue is brown. There are no visible pathological signs. The stomach tissues show no visible pathological signs. There is a small amount of content. It appears that he breakfasted lightly, only a short while before his death. My suspicions have been substantiated. Montague Dunn, the director of Kew Gardens, died from poisoning. Plant poisoning, to be more exact.
You mean
Yes, it is murder.
we should inform Lestrade?
Yes, but do remember, Watson, that I discovered the murder. The challenge is mine.
The challenge, Holmes?
We need to locate that deadly plant. Such a perfect murder appeals to me.
Murder of any kind appeals to you. Is that all we need to do?
No, we also have the people working at Kew Gardens. Martin Hamish and the son of the victim, Albert Dunn.
And also Miss White, of whom we spoke with Mr. Hamish. Should we bring them all here for interrogation?
No, a few innocuous questions at Kew will suffice, as well as a discreet delve into their personal affairs. Yes, Watson, it is time now to open the doors.
Even those in the staff building. I suppose that is necessary.
We should also be concerned with the victim himself. After all, we don't know very much about Montague Dunn.
You're enjoying this already, aren't you?
More than a little.
Two of which actually don't go away to the very end. Okay, place. Here we go. This would be the closest one. I think I might have found it. Economic science, history, medicine, cocaine tooth 8 drops. What? Botany. Here we go. Exotic plants, volume 4, poisonous. These plants have a certain toxicity in common, more or less variable. Okay, this is a lot of Latin. I'm Dione carnivorous, Carlina inabrie, Florum diabolica, Prunus serotina, Chromalina, odorata, odorata, Helium forest, Tepius, Biblis, Genlisi, Veloxi, Darlingtonia, Crococcus cephalotus. Only the first three can be dangerous to humans, particularly Florum diabolica, because it has diabolica in it, diabolical, or whatever, but only under very specific conditions. The plant should react to a process of aggression against which it would issue deadly spores.
Here it is.
Broken watch. This should be symbol. Marks and symbols, here we go. The Divine Syndicate. The Divine Syndicate for vegetation veneration. The members of the Syndicate worship Triwan, the God King. They strive to obtain spiritual peace and release themselves from the material world. So generous donations are appreciated.
Here it is. The Divine Syndicate is not a supplier to Kew Gardens. Besides, there is no address here.
Okay, awesome. No. Ooh, excuse me. London Garden Supplies. Seymour's Garden Equipment and Supplies. We are a premium supplier for all your landscape, gardening, and timber requirements. Full range supply and delivery of sand, soil, mulches, pots, and anything else you may need. 3 Blurton Road, London.
Here it is.
And we have an address. The killers may be those who stole the exotic plants, including the deadly species, from the last exhibition of Kew Gardens. After being trapped in the Colonial Collection room by the killer, Montague Dunn was affected by inhaling a virulent vegetal poison. Okay, I was like, I'm pretty sure I already did that. Okay. Garden O' Heaven, 3 Blurton Road, gardening equipment, clay pots, accessories, tools. Tree 1, the God King is the Divine Syndicate idol. Symbol on broken flower pot found in the backyard. The symbol is not from the Kew Gardens. This glyph means divine, if I am not mistaken. Symbol on the flower pots found at Kew Gardens. The pot did not belong there. The reconstruction of Montague Dunn's death reveals a disturbing fact. He slammed the door of the colonial room. He was either consumed by panic or the door had been locked. If it was the latter, his death may have been a premeditated murder. Marble fragment picked up from the floor of the colonial collection room. Judging by its form and refinement, it is probably part of a statue or a sculpture. A list of exotic stolen plants exhibit at Kew Gardens. All those Latin words that I pronounced horribly earlier. Yeah. Oof. Seriously. The following 3 plants were proven lethal to humans. Those 3. The realization of the toxic process too fairly difficult, for it requires a particular chemical fertilizer, natural stimulations, and nutrients. The calipers should work. Okay, find the stolen plants. Find the plant that was used. Expect Kew Gardens staff building. Fine. Oh.
Mr. Hamish, can you explain to us what happened to the colonial collection? It seems somewhat depleted.
But, most likely maintenance work, tidying up.
You're not sure, then? But you're the deputy director.
Well, I am busy. I cannot be everywhere at once.
Rude.
Albert told us about the tragic death of Mr. Dunn, the late director of Kew Gardens.
Tragic indeed. His heart attack was quite unexpected.
As deputy director, how was your relationship with Montague Dunn?
To be honest with you, Mr. Holmes, it could have been better. You see, every Tuesday he would carry out his inspection of the gardens, but it was solely to make an impression, great pretense that he cared at all. He would give out absurd orders, ignoring anyone else's opinion. He would then disappear for the rest of the week. He was what some might call a man of action. I'd say rather he was overzealous and chaotic. So after all, it was no wonder, perhaps, that he ended up like that, if you take into consideration his kind of lifestyle.
You mentioned that Mr. Dunn led a particular lifestyle.
Well, it's no secret that he enjoyed, celebrating, shall we say. He was a member of the London Smart Set. He was famous for it. That and...
And?
He had an eye for the ladies, to put it mildly, Mr. Holmes.
Mr. Hamish, can you tell us who holds the keys to the locked greenhouses?
That would be Albert, Mr. Dunn's son. Yes, Albert keeps all the keys, and one can only imagine why.
What do you mean?
Well, he was never interested in Kew Gardens before, and now all of a sudden he is trying to act as if he owns the place. I think he wants to take over the management here. He'd do better to leave that to me. He has no experience. No, none at all.
What is your opinion of Albert as a student of botany?
He's useless. I often tell him so, and I can only give him cleaning tasks. Botany is not his life's work, and his father well knew it. He was furious about it.
He was?
Oh, yes. He forced his son to work here, and he never missed an opportunity to criticize him publicly.
Are you able to elaborate on that?
Well, for example, with our last exhibition here, Mr. Dunn had Albert make a presentation speech. But then, while the lad was speaking, Mr. Dunn interrupted him, asking him difficult questions, making him look like a failure. It was with the intention of making a fool of him, Mr. Holmes.
That must have been terribly humiliating.
Yes, he was crushed, and he had to leave. Everybody was making fun of poor Albert. That is, except for Miss Margaret White, who is such a nice lady and who always takes pity on Albert.
You mentioned a Miss White. Would you tell us more about her?
She is a student who works here part-time. She is quite charming indeed. She possesses a great talent for botany. You should take a look at some of her experiments that she carried out in the laboratory. Ah, if only she were not so naive.
Why naive?
The way she used to flutter around Mr. Montague Dunn. And he couldn't help but be flattered by all her attention. How could an intelligent woman such as Miss White not see through his game? I can only scratch my head and wonder.
Tell me, Mr. Hamish, do you grow the more deadly variety of plant here?
You mean insectivorous? Yes, but nothing larger than that.
Are you aware of the Divine Syndicate?
The Divine what? Is this a joke?
No, I am quite serious.
What a ridiculous name. Anyway, I have never heard of this syndicate.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation. Who is Miss Margaret White?
Ah, she is the young lady who studies with me. She visits here sometimes to help out with the greenhouses. In fact, she should be here today. She wanted to work at the seed house. That's the small greenhouse across from the large glass house.
We noticed that a part of the colonial collection has been cleared.
Ah. At the moment, I'm just dealing with the storage room. I don't know much about the other rooms.
I imagine that your relationship with your father may have been a strained one.
Yes. I cannot say that he was a kind man, for he never listened to me at all. He forced me to work here. But now, after his death, I've been pondering it over. Perhaps he wasn't so wrong about me after all. I have to follow his path, and I have to manage Kew Gardens, and I can do it. I can be as good as any other who works here.
Would you please tell us about Martin Hamish, the deputy director?
Well, I have to tell you that Mr. Hamish is not and has never been the deputy director of Kew Gardens. My father would not have tolerated it.
Indeed? That is most interesting. He told us that he was.
Yes, because he believes that the management should be passed down to him now that my father is dead. But in actual fact, Mr. Hamish only has the honour of being the garden's longest-serving employee. In fact, if we are to think logically at all, it should be me who takes over the management of Kew Gardens.
Do you not have a good relationship with Mr. Hamish?
I suppose so. But we have very little in common. Mr. Hamish loves his plants and Kew Gardens, and I cannot say that I share his passion.
I see. And how was his relationship with your father?
Oh, he hated my father. It was obvious. He would be furious whenever my father boasted of Kew Gardens in the newspapers or at conferences. He was convinced that my father was stealing all of the credit for himself. But my father treated Mr. Hamish in the same way as he treated anyone. Dismissively. With indifference.
Tell me, have you ever heard of the Divine Syndicate?
No, I cannot say that I have.
Do you hold the keys to all of these locked doors?
Yes, you can have them. But I cannot give you the keys to the cloakroom. The employees' effects are private. I am sure you understand.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon. Champagne. Montague Dunn had good taste. French wine, a remarkable vintage. Newspapers discussing Kew Gardens.
New plant species. The Kew Garden teams are pleased to announce the successful production of a new variety of barley, one that retains a complete resistance to the cold. They had named it the Siberian barley. Excuse me. Mr. Martin Hamish, the proud cultivator of the grape, will hold a press conference next Monday morning upon this very subject. My dearest Margaret, following our last conversation, I believe it might be better if you vacate your position here at Kew Gardens. As you pointed out quite bluntly, you are no longer in need of my support. You are quite able to stand up for yourself in this world, as you say. Well, I give you back your freedom and wish you nothing but good luck. Montague Dunn. Oh, that was it? Oh, that was just it? Okay.
A photograph of Montague Dunn and Reynold Hamish.
Mind your own business. Mind your own business. Mind your own business. All up in my food. Rotate. Swear I love this book. My dear friend, no, my dear friend, please allow me to express my disappointment upon reading your last letter. I am paying you to defend me, not to accuse me. Kew Garden is a royal institution. We are granted the great opportunity to travel the world and to save the most extraordinary, precious, and rare species of plants. Our duty is to protect such species, and from those who might wish to use them for a dubious purpose. This divine syndicate of whom you speak have no right to hold such precious plants. Remember the case of June 14, 1890, blah, 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 blah. Remember the case of June 14, 1889? So I must respectfully ask you once again to notarize the permission of these blah, 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 blah. I swear. So I must respectfully ask you once again to notarize the permission on these plants on behalf of Kew Gardens. The documents were sent to you on Monday. P.S. See you in Boodles on Tuesday as always. Montague Dunn. Mr. Dunn, we must ask you for the last time for the return of our dear sisters. You do not have any right to hold them in prison. They do not belong to you. Your so-called permissions are woefully false. You are hiding behind lies. The lie we not need elaborate. I hate sentences like this. That was reported in the press as the case of June 1489. What you have done is quite abhorrent. Be very sure that we shall never abandon our family members. We trusted you and regret having done so. The Divine Syndicate.
I suggest that we don't tell Miss Margaret White about this document.
Debt of Miss Margaret White to Mr. Montague Dunn. Rental of a suite of rooms at Oxford Street. An educational scholarship at the University of London. I said that backwards. London University. I must be dyslexic. An educational scholarship at the London University. Credit open at Helmington. Radigan House, Taylor's Inn at Bard and Sons Luxury Jewelers. I know how to read, but reading out loud is really annoying. No wonder why my classmates always hate reading out loud. I don't blame them. Get in, Mom. Get in. Hurry up. Get your... Fine, stay out there. Why isn't it... Okay, don't close them.
There was a bottle here. It left behind a trace of the substance that pervaded the laboratory. Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around. Several drops of the substance were spilled. Someone carried this bottle around.
Gold dust? Good heavens. What's it doing here?
The gold is almost immune to chemical attacks, so it may be a valuable auxiliary for various experiments.
But why would anyone perform such experiments in a botanical garden?
The bottle is no longer here, but it is possible to detect a faint scent. We need a good nose.
Toby! We'll come back for Toby Yato. We'll come back for Toby Yato. Toby's a good boy.
Those are creepy. Oh, now you want to come in.
This is a table for experiments. It resembles my own.
Only this one is kept in good order, Holmes. A phonograph used for voice recording. Remarkable.
Yes, this is quite a modern laboratory. I don't hear anything.
Martin Hamish's perception of plants. The notion of communication in the plant world has long been considered marginal, yet I remain convinced that some plants do indeed transmit chemical signals in the event of attack.
A study report by Martin Hamish.
And it seems clear from these multiple experiments that plants do respond to their environment and have a form of consciousness. Margaret White, February 1895. Report number 245.
Study report. Chemicals. A sufficient quantity for some serious experiments. A botany book. This student's book belongs to Albert. It appears as though the protective equipment is missing from here. Gloves, waterproof aprons, everything one might need for self-protection.
Do they grow dangerous plants here?
Such masks are generally worn when dealing with toxic chemicals. Locked.
Holmes, Albert Dunn didn't give us the key to this door.
It does not matter. We will open it. Open.
Says me.
Albert's locker. Specialist articles on shipyards and ship construction. Albert Dunn has a great passion for shipbuilding and the sea. A rejection letter from the British Royal Naval College.
Sir, it is my regret to inform you that despite your excellent results within our entry examination, we are unable to invite you into the Royal Navy School. Your father, Mr. Montague Dunn, has expressed his intention to entrust you to the directorship of the Royal Botanical Gardens in Kew, and it's clear that he will not release you for an entire year of naval training. Please accept all of our best wishes for your return at Kew Gardens. Yours very faithfully, J.M. Lamarchin? Director. Lamarchin. Director of the Royal Navy Training Center.
Young Albert, standing with a woman in front of London University. Martin Hamish's locker. Martin Hamish studied chemistry. Interesting.
Mr. General Secretary, recent events unfolding at Kew Gardens obliged me to renew my application for the management position. As I have stated already in my previous letters, I believe that no one is better suited for the post. While Mr. Montague Dunn was alive, I understood your reservation to my suggestion. Your reasons were political, and so I was happy to comply. But now the Kew Gardens lie in this order. How can I stand by and allow it? How can I leave them in the hands of unexperienced people with no motivation? I must urge you to cast your decision as a matter of urgency, so that I may devote myself entirely to the noble task at hand, and free my mind from this uncertainty.
A review on rare and exotic plants. Martin Hamish has written several pieces. Father and I, Kew Gardens. Miss White's locker. Apparently, Miss White is a capable student. A draft of the letter that Miss White sent to her parents.
Dear mother and father, I am writing this letter with reluctance to ask for your help. My studies and my housing costs have proven to be more expensive than I had anticipated. I fear, therefore, that I may not be able to manage in the long term. I know we had our disagreements in the past, but would you be so heartless as to allow your daughter to fail her? You know what? I'm just gonna read that entire thing again. I know that we have had our disagreements in the past, but would you be so heartless as to allow your daughter to fail her studies due to lack of money? Margaret. That's well, it is a draft.
These jewels must be worth a small fortune.
She can sell the jewelry to get the money that she needs. Dear Margaret, I know how your financial troubles are overwhelming you at this present time. Please let me reassure you that I cannot permit you to remain in such a dilemma. I was born of a wealthy family. I would consider it an honor if you might accept my help. Your devoted servant, Albert.
A vanity purse. It is of high quality.
Yeah. Margaret, we were surprised to receive your letter. How could you think to ask us for money after all these years that have passed since you left and without any thought of us? You have never shared with us any details of your success at the university, but you choose to do so now. We suppose you must be ashamed of us, for we are not from the same high class as your new friends. Yes, we are modest people, but you shall learn to put your family first as we at home have always done. And none of us ever compromise their reputation, as it appears you have already with your employer, Mr. Dunn. I put too long of a pause there. No, Margaret, it is you who makes us feel ashamed. Your parents. Okay. Hmm. Wait, what? Studies. Study biology. Let me see. Enjoys her talents. Education. Okay. What does that anything? Okay. What? Let's try this again, shall we? Margaret's wife's studies and social situation were completely dependent upon Montague Dunn's wealth. Miss White and Mr. Dunn had a recent disagreement. Montague Dunn was planning to release Miss White from her position at Kew Gardens. Sorry about that. Okay. Okay. Anyway.
locked. These young plants must be delicate if they are kept in the nursery. A master's degree diploma. It belongs to Martin Hamish. An award presented to Martin Hamish for Best Grower of the Year. We can see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room from this window. This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system. It is a bust of Montague Dunn. I am curious if the marble that we found will fit this place. Here it is. The marble fragment that we found in the Colonial Collection Room is what they have in common. From here, we are unable to see the interior of the Colonial Collection Room. These leather gloves are new and of good quality. They do not appear to have been used. A book about ships. Nothing at all to do with plants. Materials for college study. They belong to Albert. This place serves as Albert's office.
Good day to you, miss. You have some very beautiful plants here.
Why, thank you, sir. And good day to you, too. But...
Oh, I do beg your pardon. My name is Dr. John Watson. This is my good friend, Mr. Sherlock Holmes.
I am honored to make your acquaintance, gentlemen. My name is Margaret White. Excuse me, but are you Sherlock Holmes, the great detective?
Yes, I am he.
What a pleasure to see you here at Kew Gardens. Are you working on a case?
Yes, a theft of plants that took place here a few days ago after their most recent exhibition.
Oh yes, of course. I quite forgot about that.
Oh, it's quite understandable that you might forget about the theft of the plants, miss, after the tragedy that took place here.
Yes. The director was a truly good man. It is such a terrible misfortune.
Would you happen to know why part of the Colonial Collection was cleared?
No, I have never been there.
Do you work here?
Part-time only. I am a biology student at the London University. I attend the same classes as the son of Mr. Montague Dunn. That is how I found my chance to work here for part of my thesis, you see. It is a great honor.
How well did you know Mr. Montague Dunn?
He was a master, a great leader. I saw him almost as a spiritual father.
He had an exceptional nature?
Oh, yes, indeed. He was always so active and so optimistic, and very nice to me. Although he could behave harshly towards his son.
Why so?
He loved his son dearly and wanted the very best for him. It made him extremely demanding. Albert, who is naturally shy, suffered because of it.
The Divine Syndicate. Does that name mean anything to you, by any chance?
Not at all. But it is a very pretty name.
Most of the doors in Kew Gardens are locked. Do you have a key to this room?
Oh, yes. Albert gave me a set of duplicate keys. He agreed I might carry out my studies without disturbing him. It is only temporary.
Thank you, miss. None of the 3 people who work at Kew Gardens know why half of the colonial collection was cleared. So, someone is lying. It is obvious. Mr. Hamish, was someone from your family connected with Kew Gardens?
Family? No. I'm the only one with a passion for botany.
I do not think so. This photograph of you and your father at Kew Gardens suggests the opposite.
But you have no right to.
Do tell us more about your father.
He was, indeed, the greatest botanist of his time in the British Empire. He worked together with Montague Dunn until the end of his life. He brought me in at the age of 12.
Did he get on well with Mr. Dunn?
No, I couldn't say that. They expanded Kew Gardens together, that was all. And it was all my father's work, for Dunn always lived the high life.
So Mr. Dunn was not helping your father?
Oh, yes, he provided the financial support. And as far as he was concerned, that fulfilled his role. But the worst of it was, he declared himself as the master of Kew Gardens. Fame meant nothing to my father, so it was easy for Mr. Dunn to take all the credit.
There is a bust of Montague Dunn in the nursery.
A bust? Oh, that old thing. Further proof of that outrageous ego of his.
But why in that room in particular?
Oh, I don't know. It has always been there.
It is strange, because I recovered a fragment of the bust inside the Colonial Collection Room.
Really? Oh, well, so I am mistaken. It ought to have been removed during the cleanup. This room is so small.
Do you know who moved it?
I have no idea. Surely Mr. Dunn requested it. Do you have any more questions like this? Because fragments of rock are not my responsibility.
Evidently. Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation.
Mr. Dunn is as cheerful as an overwatered cactus.
I perceive that you are passionate about the Royal Navy.
Passionate? No, not really. I like ships, that is all.
Are you quite sure? You do not seem to be so interested in plants.
It's difficult, that's all. My future is here. It has never been about anything else.
And yet I know that the Royal Naval College rejected your application.
Ah, you truly are as clever as they say. Yes, that's correct. And in fact, my father was strongly against the idea. He did his best to ruin my plans. although I almost did succeed. But my dreams were shattered, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon.
Scandal at Divine Syndicate Club. The Divine Syndicate Club, followers of the God King Triwan, situated on 48 Grosvenor Street, Carlton Road, protectors of plants and more particularly trees, are currently the subject of an administrative investigation. The leaders of this organization are suspected of financial malversation. No, excuse me, malfeasance. Yes, malfeasance. It may be that this investigation will lead to charges of judiciary. Meanwhile, many voices have risen high against this inspection, denouncing the state. In fact, this private organization, which has given as its goal the defense and protection of nature, which incorporates many persons of influence, including political representatives of the opposition party.
Here it is. And here is the Divine Syndicate's address. Perfect. It is time to find out what they have against Montague Dunn. Come on, Toby. We have some work for you to do. Let us go to Kew Gardens.
I like how his voice changes from different, excuse me, how his voice changes where it's like very low to very high. Hilarious.
Let us take Toby to the laboratory. He will pick up the scent of this mysterious substance. Search, Toby. Search.
When they can't open doors. My tiny little feet, my tiny little paws, my tiny little legs can't reach. Have you ever seen the movie Meet the Robinsons? I remember the dinosaurs that have little arms, a big head, little arms, something like that. It's been over a decade since I've seen that movie.
Congratulations, Toby. Now let us see what you have found. This is the bottle that was used in the laboratory. There is still some liquid remaining in the bottle, with gold flakes. A tiny caterpillar. Not surprising to see one in a garden, but at the bottom of a bottle.
Who's a good boy, huh? Who's a good boy? You are. Yes, you are.
Oops, wrong one.
Let us determine just what we have found here. Let us pour liquid from the bottle into a test tube to perform an analysis. A colorless, water-based liquid. Quite a strong floral aroma.
Holmes,
No,
what are you doing?
It has a bitter taste.
What if it's poisonous?
Did you ever see poison stored in enormous jars like that? Anyway, there is a doctor nearby.
So what do you think it is?
It is some kind of organic compound. Let us vaporize the liquid and see what happens.
one of these days that doctor's gonna leave it for dead. He had enough of you. You test his patience way too much.
Small colorless crystals. Colorless,
That looks
tiny
like me.
crystals that are soluble in water, with a floral smell and a bitter taste. Watson, could you pass me that small bottle, please?
Of course. Here you are. Holmes, do you know what it is?
Wagner's reagent. There was a label on the bottle that you passed to me.
No, Holmes, I meant the bottle that we found.
Let me add the reagent and see if there is any sediment, and then I shall tell you.
He basically said, if I'm the bottle watcher, can you leave?
Red sediment, just as I suspected. This liquid is of organic origin. It contains some alkaloid. Most likely it is unstable, and that is why there is a quantity of gold dust to prevent contamination. This mixture is probably a fertilizer. Someone was carrying out unusual experiments in the garden's laboratory.
Wasn't there a caterpillar in one of the caterpillars?
This place is beautiful, Holmes. Its atmosphere is remarkably soothing.
Let us find someone who could help us. A fragment of a flower pot. Fragments of a flower pot. It fell down here. The Kew Gardens symbol. Good day to you, sir. My name is Sherlock.
I am exalting the sap. A while can you wait? From the trace of elements and moreover from the quality of the ambient geotropism it depends. Therefore, please, mind my gravitropism. Its balance, do not disturb.
Disturbed is most definitely the word.
There. Completed is the symbiosis. Welcomed you are. To introduce myself, I shall. I am the Green Grand Mystic.
The Green Grand Mystic himself.
This is me. Who am I speaking to?
We are two gentlemen who are extremely interested in the vegetation philosophy that is advocated by this establishment.
Listening to you, I am.
We should like to take a look around, to immerse ourselves in the wisdom that emanates from here.
It is a school of anastomosis, the divine scholastic syndicate for vegetation veneration and meditation. You may say, the divine syndicate, glory to the eukaryotic. Only true devotees, those whose hearts are ready to spermatophize, in sharing of knowledge, are permitted to physically enter our vegetable kingdom and its wisdom. And to be permitted, you must earn it. Yes.
Green Grand Mystic, we are ready to become devotees and gain access to your temple.
What is the name of our Lord, our God King?
Our God King's name is Trewan, Green Grand Mystic.
Oh la, good, good, I like you. Here is the holy key to the wisdom place. Holy donation can you make whenever you so wish.
Thank you so much.
I pray you to taste our fertilizer substance. From the burdens of life it helps to free.
But of course.
Raw sap, it is called. It is near the entrance.
Cocaine.
You have friends at Kew Gardens?
None. Not worthy there.
Nevertheless, we have seen Kew Gardens flower pots in your yard. How could they happen to be there?
What? Our sacred place you permitted yourself to search? Sacrilege.
No, really now. There was a theft of plants at Kew Gardens a matter of days ago, and we believe the pots we found here may be connected with it. Please tell us, were you involved?
No. Those plants were ours. They had stolen them from us.
How so?
Their director, Dump, I believe.
Done.
Yes, that's what I said. He borrowed from us 3 of our sisters for the exhibition at his greenfly-infested gardens. But he never gave them back to us. Excuses and imbecility. So we went in and saved them.
I see. So, if you stole those rare plants from them, then it means... Ah, I get it. Bravo, Holmes. I think the case is solved.
No, we did not steal. We saved. Well, as a matter of fact, we were unable to find our 3 plants.
I beg your pardon. And yet you took all of the exotic plants from the stand.
They had disappeared. It was the least we could do. They stole our sisters, and so we stole theirs.
Well, we will leave you to your meditation.
Really? Missing plans, deadly plans stolen, or is not... Okay. The divine syndicate stole all plants from the exhibition, including the deadly species. They could have used them in order to murder Montague Dunn. The divine syndicate stole all but the deadly plants. The divine syndicate stole all but the deadly plants from the exhibition. Martin Hamish had a motive. He believed that he and his father's lives had been ruined by Dunn, who had taken the credit for all their work. Hamish wished to take over the directorship of Kew Gardens, but he knew that would not be possible with Dunn still alive. Albert had a motive to kill his father, Montague Dunn. Dunn had thwarted Albert's dream of joining the Royal Navy. By killing his father, Albert could have his revenge and eventually succeed in his father's place as director of Kew Gardens. Okay.
You came to make a donation? Glory to Triwan!
This must be Triwan, the Divine Syndicate's god. This door is locked, but I can try to open it. These instruments are used for smoking opium. This substance is an alkaloid, the same as in the bottle we found in the bushes at Kew Gardens. This cabinet is full of chemicals. They are the same as the ones we found in the laboratory at Kew Gardens. That would be enough to perform the most difficult of chemical experiments. A vast amount of opium.
What are you doing?
That should be the raw sap that the Green Grand Mystic spoke of. It is rather delicious, and of an excellent quality.
My word, Holmes. Their sap is like a form of cocaine.
Caterpillars. They are raised as food for certain plants. Let's take them. These 3 plants are identical to the ones shown at the exhibition. I shall take them. It is rather delicious, and of an excellent quality.
My word, Holmes. Their sap is like a form of cocaine.
Set up the alkaloid from a chemical laboratory in the caterpillars and perform the experiment with the deadly plants.
Perfect, Watson. We can begin our experiment.
I did not need to do that.
This green grand mystic fellow seems rather suspicious, Holmes. What should we do next, Holmes?
I imagine that one of these plants would be capable of releasing a toxic vapor. I need to find out exactly how it could be done. I shall begin now. Watson, if you are at all optimistic to have dinner this evening, then I'd recommend that you put on the gas mask. This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid. This plant becomes inactive after being drenched with alkaloid. It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid. No reaction. I find the behavior of predators utterly fascinating. It closed again. I believe I saw a small cloud of gas. I wonder what secrets this plant is hiding. Perhaps if we agitate it to a greater extent whilst it is opened, it will reveal a little more. How interesting. What a strong and effective defensive mechanism. I am interested in what might occur if the prickly plant should shoot at it. It appears to open after being soaked with alkaloid. Toxic gas with spores. Extraordinary. The plants would be capable of killing only if they were directly next to the victim and stimulated at precisely the right moment.
Let us take our caterpillars to the Colonial Collection Room. We may see things more clearly there.
It is too early, Watson. Our suspects will be there. Let us investigate Kew Gardens one more time and ask some questions.
The divine syndicate left the plans at Kew Gardens in order to murder Montague Dunn at a later date. Someone stole the deadly plans before the divine syndicates were able to. The Divine Syndicate planned the death of Montague Dunn. They have been involved in a dispute with Dunn over the stolen plants. Lured the Green Grand Mystic to Scotland Yard. That is the only way to deal with a dangerous criminal who organized the exotic plant's death and murdered Montague Dunn in cold-blood revenge. Shelter the Green Grand Mystic in an asylum without notifying Scotland Yard. His opium addiction has affected his sanity, and he needs to be treated accordingly.
Green Grand Mystic, we have excellent news for you. Please come with us.
Praise the all-holy sap for having spiritually pollinated us. Where are we going?
We found your plants.
Is that true? And where are they?
They're at Scotland Yard. Please come with us to identify them, so that you may take them back.
Yes, yes, I will come. I am excited to retrieve them.
Green Grand Mystic, we have excellent news for you. Please come with us.
Praise the all-holy sap for having spiritually pollinated us. Where are we going?
To a hospital, Green Grand Mystic. We know what you did. Do not worry, you'll be treated well.
What? What are you talking about? A mistake over some plants? You are the ones who should be treated, you raging fools.
No, we are speaking of an altogether more serious crime.
I do not understand, and I refuse to move. And I suggest that you do not force me. I have a lot of influential followers. You should believe me.
Holmes, I could write a letter of recommendation to a special institution. I know the director there. But, as the mystic has said, his sect is powerful, and I'm not sure if I could be influential enough.
Well, with your writing talent and my persuasion, we can try our best to find a place for him. That is all we can do. Can you tell me if you saw Mr. Montague Dunn on the day of his death?
Yes, of course. I met him, and we went to see Albert, his son, at around 9:30. He appeared quite calm.
What were you doing on the morning of the accident?
After paying multiple visits to Albert, I had a little talk with Miss White. Then I returned to my desk to complete some paperwork. Suddenly, I observed that Mr. Dunn was not feeling well, so I ran immediately to fetch Albert. I clearly remember that it was around 10:30, for I was late that morning.
Thank you, Mr. Hamish. We shall continue our investigation. Your father's death does seem highly suspicious. What were your movements here on that day?
Suspicious. Well, I was working in the seed house, taking care of something, or Lear Pontus, or... No, wait. These Latin names. And I spent so many hours trying to memorize them.
Did you see your father that day?
Yes. He came here with Mr. Hamish for his weekly visit. There was nothing unusual about that.
And then?
Nothing. They stepped out to the backyard. It was perhaps 20 minutes before 10 o'clock. Then about 10 minutes later, I saw my father heading for the dry tropics room while Mr. Hamish returned here.
And Mr. Hamish and Miss White, what were they both doing that morning?
Mr. Hamish visited me a couple of times. I also saw him returning from talking with Miss White, and that was at 10 minutes past 10. But then he ran back here to me to tell me that my father was feeling unwell. We hurried across to the water lily room, and I found my father lying dead on the floor. Oh, my God.
Thank you, young man. We shall see you again soon. Can you tell me what Mr. Dunn was doing upon the day of his death?
I can, but there is nothing very special to say. I was in the laboratory when I saw Mr. Dunn heading towards me. Tuesday is the day of his weekly visit. It was supposed to be at 9, but he was 10 minutes late, as usual.
And then?
Well, he came in to say good morning. Then I saw him spend 2 or 3 minutes by the plants outside the laboratory. After that, he ran out in the direction of the nursery, where Mr. Hamish was working. He was always in a rush during the inspection, you see. I would pity anyone who stood in his way.
And that was the last time you saw him?
Yes. I stayed in the laboratory until 20 minutes to 11, when I heard the cries of Albert and Mr. Hamish from the large glass house.
I joined them as soon as I could, for I knew that something must be very wrong.
What exactly were you doing in the laboratory?
I was recording an experiment for my thesis. I only stopped my work once when Mr. Hamish visited me briefly around 10 o'clock.
You say you were recording an experiment when the tragedy occurred. Might I listen to the roll?
Certainly. Please do. You will find it in the laboratory. It is number 320.
Thank you, miss.
Everyone has gone, Holmes. The way is clear.
Here it is. Cylinder records.
These plants, classified as shrubs or grasses, have adapted to their arid environment due to a system of underground roots.
This recording seems very long. It is unnecessary to listen to all of it. Miss White was in the laboratory, as she told us. When Montague Dunn was standing close by the plants, the caterpillars were released and caused the deadly spores to activate. Panicking, and likely already half asphyxiated, Montague Dunn started back and knocked over the bust. He rushed to the door, but it was locked. He had to force it open with his shoulder. We already know the outcome. Montague Dunn collapsed and died not far from the pool. Well, it is time to perform our experiment on the ventilation system. The caterpillars could only fall from the ventilation duct. Our caterpillars are in place. I'll activate the ventilation system so that they fall down. Watson, stay here and observe.
All right, Holmes.
We can see the interior of the colonial collection room from this window. Here, we are able to see the interior of the colonial collection room. The power is on. The engine cannot be started whilst the transmission is active. The engine has started. The ventilation system is working. From here, we are able to see the interior of the colonial collection room. This is one of the outlets of the ventilation system. Excellent. This ventilation fan is working. Let's see if I can make it on. We can see the interior of the colonial collection room from this window. Perfect. Now I just need to find Watson to check the result.
It works perfectly, Holmes. Bravo. Now, if you could just help me to get rid of these caterpillars.
Perfect. Now we know how the murder of Montague Dunn was carried out, by activating both Albert's and Mr. Hamish's fans.
But only from Mr. Hamish's workplace would it be possible to see when Montague Dunn entered the colonial collection room.
Martin Hamish had the opportunity to simulate the deadly plants in the colonial collection room. As a biologist, he would have understood the technicality of how to do this. Martin Hamish could be the killer. He had the opportunity to steal the Divine Syndicate's plants and simulate them from his workplace directly after he had locked Montague Dunn inside the colonial collection room. Affect the arrest of Martin Hamish. No. Albert is not very good at botany. It is doubtful that he could have learned how the plant spores might release their deadly spores. Albert had the biological knowledge to simulate the deadly plants.
Let's go to Scotland Yard.
Nothing. The knowledge Miss White acquired at the university might not be enough to guarantee the correct reaction of the deadly plants. Miss White had a biological knowledge to simulate the deadly plants. No.
Inspector, I believe that Martin Hamish is guilty of the murder of Montague Dunn.
Aha! I knew it. I'll send the lads around to arrest him.
Very good. I shall wait to hear from you. Inspector, I came here as quickly as I could.
Martin Hamish is in the large glass house. There's no need to hurry.
Holmes, my God!
Yes, we found him like that.
Our messing around with the ventilation system didn't go unnoticed. Mr. Hamish realized that we knew.
Inspector, could you arrange the body, please? I should like to examine it. The mark around the neck is very visible. He died instantly.
Holmes, his left shoe is unique. This anomaly is often a characteristic of...
A club foot. Bravo, Watson. That is the key element of this case.
Life has become a living hell. I find it unbearable. Dunn deserved to die, but I cannot forgive myself for having his blood upon my hands. We Hamishes seem to have always fallen victim to our circumstances, and I find myself to be no exception. I must atone, and I shall do so here and now. Farewell. Martin Hamish was unable to run due to the tibial torsion on his cleft foot. Therefore, we should find out if he has sufficient time to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room and activate the ventilation system. Did he have an accomplice? Discuss with Lestrade the possible impact of new clues found on the body of Martin Hamish.
Something about this rings very oddly.
Why do you say that, Mr. Holmes?
Why? Because of Mr. Hamish's club foot. Oh, I deserve to be kicked from here to Charing Cross. I should have noticed it.
But, Mr. Holmes, I can't see why.
No, I don't suppose you do. You must recall that Mr. Dunn was locked inside the Colonial Collection Room by the murderer. If it was Mr. Hamish, he would have had to run up to his workplace to trigger the fan situated above it, taking into consideration the condition of his foot.
Well, it is still possible.
Perhaps, but it is rather strange that such a person as Mr. Hamish decided to base his plan on the speed of his gait.
You mean to say that somebody helped him?
So the suicide is questionable?
Correct. Mr. Hamish accuses only himself in his letter, and so the investigation stops.
Possibly an accomplice, then? That idea had not occurred to me, Mr. Holmes.
I have another idea, Inspector. Thanks to the testimony that we have collected, we are able to rebuild the events as they took place that day.
With a timeline, such as we did in the Jack the Ripper case.
Precisely.
The map at the entrance of Kew Gardens should help us with our timeline.
Let us analyze the facts and statements so that we may recreate the events of that morning. Let us summarize. Montague Dunn was poisoned inside the Colonial Collection Room. He forced open the door, which means that someone locked him inside there at 10:20. Martin Hamish was last seen at 10:10. This means that he has approximately 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room. Given that he was club-footed, it is doubtful. Albert also has 10 minutes to lock the door of the Colonial Collection Room, which is quite enough time. Miss White was last seen at 10 o'clock, which means that she had approximately 20 minutes to lock the door. More than enough time. Perfect, Watson. Now, let us ascertain who assisted Martin Hamish in killing Montague Dunn.
Margaret White was Martin's Hamish accomplice in killing Montague Dunn. Her professional ambition and personal situation had been damaged by the breakup with Dunn. Miss White is a dangerous woman, very capable of carrying an elaborate murder for monetary gain. She flirted with Dunn's son, Albert, and later pushed Martin's Hamish to his suicide. She deserves the rope. Miss White is a desperate woman in debt, resigning to consorting with wealthy gentlemen. When Dunn cast her aside, she killed him in desperation. Hamish tried to save her. She deserved a second chance.
Mr. Holmes, good day to you.
You do not seem surprised, Miss White.
Well, I was expecting you.
Not for too long, I believe. So please tell me, as it is still unclear, who planned the murder? Was it you?
You were wrong, Mr. Holmes.
It was Martin Hamish, then. You managed to convince him to take on a more prominent role.
You could not be further from the truth.
You think that you can fool me?
You don't care what I think.
I am not blaming you, Miss White. You are a young and brilliant woman, trapped in a dull and hostile world. Life has never been easy, men in particular.
You... It is hopeless.
Indeed. Well, it may be true that I cannot yet change the world, but I can spare your life.
My life. There is nothing left to save. I have lost everything. Do you hear me? Everything! And you were just like all the others. You would abuse and take advantage of a vulnerable woman.
I hardly think so. Now just listen to me.
I've tried so hard, but I have had enough.
Miss White, no! I beg you not to do this, Miss White.
Don't come any closer.
Please remain calm. We can help you.
Not one step further. Don't try to stop me.
Stop this foolishness. You cannot truly want to die.
No, it's too late.
Well done, Watson. She was not faking.
Miss White, you have no right to take your own life.
Dr. Watson? You just saved me.